Alrighty, so what we're going to be doing in this section, a lot of work with data and statistics. And what I want to do is give you one method or one way that we can start looking at data and information. And this is kind of a newer thing. I never learned this when I was in school, but it's a neat kind of visual way to look at data, find the median, and then kind of see how spread out your information is. So this first worksheet that I want you to have in front of you is going to be for your notes. You can go ahead and put your name up here. And then these are your notes or your practice problems for this section. Okay, as we get ready to move on into section 2. These are called box and whisker plots because what they look like, and some of you have mentioned you've seen this in my teacher grade book or in other teachers' grade books as a way you can look at information and see how things are spread out. Okay, so basically what happens is you look like you have a box like this and then two little lines that take off in either direction, and hence it looks like a box and whiskers. Clever name. All right, so here's what I need you to have. A pencil, a calculator, and this notes sheet. And pause the video as we get that ready, and I'll wait. All right, let's take a look at problem 1. In order to create these, what we first need to do is take whatever your data list is, and I need you to put it in order from the smallest to the largest. So go ahead in this workspace. Here is just a nice little list of numbers. And I need you to find the smallest ones and then put those in there. Now, usually what I do as I scan through is I find a number and then either cross it off or I put a dot above it so that I'm not totally, destroying my list and I can still see what's there. Looks like I've got a couple of 3s, a 4, there's a 5 and a 6. And then I just have an 8 and a 9 left. All right, pause as necessary anytime during the process so that you can kind of catch up and stay on track with what we're doing. Here's your list. Now, what we're going to focus on today is not adding them up and dividing to find the mean. What we're going to do is find the median, which is the middle, okay? We have to find the middle. And so, in order to do that, you need to kind of come from the outside and kind of work your way until you get smack dab in the middle. So what we've got to do here, and sometimes what I like to do is just kind of use a highlighter a little bit and kind of say, all right, I come in one there, choom, 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 choom. On your paper, what you can do is I literally just take my fingers and start working my way in and covering things up till you get in the middle. Now let's look what happened. I don't have one number in the middle. What I actually have here is kind of like a tie. There's 2 of them there. And so what we do is we put a little line here and then we tell ourselves, okay, now what we have to do, and I'm going to erase my yellow dots here, if you'll give me a second to do that. So now what we need to do is find the middle of those 2 numbers. In other words, average them or find the middle between 4 and 5. So what you would do is take 4 plus 5 and divide by 2, or just go, what's exactly halfway between 4 and 5 on a number line? And you should get 4.5 or 4.5. This is your median. So put 4.5 here. Sometimes we call this the second quartile. You're used to calling it the median, so we'll stick with median. Okay? All right. Now, these 2 things, the first quartile and the second quartile or third quartile, now we can find those once you find the median, because the median basically takes your data set and splits it in half. You have a lower chunk and an upper chunk. So now what we're going to do is find the median of each chunk. So now let's take a look at from here to here. There's my lower chunk. Now go ahead and do the same thing. Work your way in to find the middle of these numbers. I don't get a number exactly in the middle. If I did, I would box it on up, but I don't. I'm going to be halfway between these 2. Well, it's 3 and 3. So what's the middle between 3 and 3? It's 3. Or take 3 plus 3, which is 6, and divide it by 2, and you get 3. All right, that one was easy. That's our first quartile. Second one, 5, 6, 8, 9. All right, so just come on in, and it's going to be smack dab in the middle between 6 and 8. 6 plus 8 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. Or 7 is exactly in the middle of 6 and 8. That is called the third quartile. These numbers now, the first quartile, the second quartile, the median, and 7 are the numbers that we're going to use to make the box. All right, so you draw all this above the number line that you have, and at 3, put a little line like this. At 4.5, put another line like this. And at 7, put a little line segment like this. Don't let them touch the number line. They sit above it. And then make the box. Looks like this. Okay. Now, here's what the box represents. So from 3 to 7 is considered the middle chunk of your data. Okay, so I've got a couple of numbers on the bottom, a couple of the numbers on top, and I've got 4 numbers in the middle. This is my middle chunk of my data. This line here inside the box is where the median is. So here's what this tells me. I have the same number of numbers here and the same number of numbers here, but these numbers are a little more spread out. Okay, and take a look. You know, you go from 4.5 up to 7. Here it's only from 3 to 4.5. They're a little more compact. Last, we're going to calculate the range. And the range is, you recall, take the highest number in your data set, which was 9, and the lowest number in your data set, the minimum, which was 2. Subtract them and you get 7. The 9 and the 2 are going to be the minimum and maximum. Those are the dots for your whisker, and those just put a dot that's at about halfway up the level of the box there as far as the height. And then you just go zip and draw those. Now here's what this is telling us. This lower whisker tells us 1/4 of my data is in this whisker. Then I get to the box here, and this first part of the box up to the median, that's another 1/4 of my data. This is the median, the middle. Here's the next 1/4 of my data. I get to my third quartile, and then this top whisker is the last 1/4 of my data. And it gives you a picture as to how spread out things are. If you have a data set that's really close together and very tightly compacted, your box and whisker plot is going to be all smushed together. If you have numbers that are way out there, you're going to get whiskers, and you might even get a box that's spread way out there. So today I just want to get you used to the mechanics of drawing these so that when we start seeing them later on in this module and in the future, you can understand what all of these parts mean. This dot, this first quartile, the middle, median, second quartile, third quartile, and your maximum for that upper whisker. All right, I want you to start diving ahead in problem number 2 to get this one set up. We're going to draw another box and whisker plot. You have a few more values in your data set. Go ahead in the workspace and start putting them in order from the smallest to the largest. I'm going to kind of shush my mouth and just work silently so that you can work. And then as we get done here, you can compare. Feel free to pause the video at any point here. Ugh. All right, Check, make sure you've got all of these values. When you look through your original list, 3, 6, 9, you should have 10 numbers there. Make sure you've got 10 numbers in your list, that you didn't space out and miss one. Now do the same thing. Start moving in to find the middle of your data set. And like I said, literally, I'm putting my fingers on my screen so I can do that. And you go ahead and put the numbers physically, or your fingers physically, right on your piece of paper. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we are. That's your middle or your median. That stands for the second quartile as well. Once you have it broken into 2 pieces, then take these and find the first quartile, which basically is the median of the bottom of that bottom half of your data. Now notice what happens here. I actually get a number that's right in there. If that happens when you're finding the initial median or any of your quartiles, put a box around it. Okay, if I had just a number here, I'd put a box around it to separate my first and second halves, or upper and lower halves, I should say. Do the same thing up here. There's my third quartile and my range. Again, in this case, my maximum was 9, minimum was 2. So if you want to start with that, the 9 and the 2, those are going to be the ends of your whiskers. Those are just dots. Your first quartile is a 4. You're going to put a little line segment there. Second quartile is a 6. Third quartile is 8. The quartiles, the way I do this is I put 3 line segments and they make my rectangle or my box. And then you have your whiskers go zoop, zoop. Oh, that's pretty bad. Oh, well, sorry. All right. And that gives us our box and whisker plot to give us a picture representation of this data. Again, here's what it means. This part here, maybe I'll get the highlighter on so I can kind of illustrate this better. From here to here is the first fourth of your data, okay, in that whisker, the lowest part. Then in the box, this first part of the box, up until I get to the line, this is my second fourth of my data. It starts at the first quartile or the lower quartile and goes up to the middle quartile or the median. Here comes the next fourth of my data. That goes up to the third quartile and up to the end, to the maximum, and that's your whisker. Okay, that's the other fourth of the data. Sometimes they really look like they're about the same size. That means your data is pretty evenly spread out. Up here, when we looked at this first one, this was really small, and this chunk here was kind of bigger. That just means your numbers are more spread out. You have the same number of numbers in each of these sections. You can just get a visual as to how spread out or how compacted they are. Okay, cool. All right, your assignment now is going to be to dive in and start drawing these box and whisker plots on this worksheet. So I will kind of send you forth and let you start to draw these. You may work together in groups as you choose, as long as you are working. You have, let's see, 10 of them on here with various representations. On the back side, you actually have the number lines provided for you. Okay, so you'll have to do a little bit of flip-flopping, and that's okay, but make sure you're very clear, okay, as you find what are your quartiles, where's my box, where are my whiskers. All right, good luck, and may the force be with you.